guys, Ava here. Today I'll be naming all the parts of this model engine that I built. Now, I would take it apart, but it's glued, so I can't. But it would take it apart to build it on camera, but I can't. It's glued. And this little elf is going to be helping me. These sparkles. So she's going to fly over here. Okay, so I'm going to have to move everything. And then I'll kind of put it here. Yeah. Okay, guys, so I have this engine and this little elf. I'm just going to go right there. Yeah. Okay, so I can do like a full view of the engine first. So this is a Hemi engine, which the difference between a normal engine and a Hemi is the cylinders are more round at the top. And now I shall explain. Okay, so some parts I can take off, like the spark plug wires, but I'm not going to. So I can show. Okay, this is the cylinder head cover, so this plastic part. This is where your oil cap would go, so where you put your oil in, they'd be on these. Somewhere here, maybe like this thing. Because this is your oil filter, and then the fan, which your radiator would be right here. And then the exhaust manifold, the other exhaust manifold. And then the intake is right under the carburetors. And then the carburetors, because the carburetors sit on top of the intake. So yeah. And then the alternator, the belt, the other belt, water pump, oil filter, oil dipstick. Yeah, oil dipstick. And then there's no transmission dipstick because this has no transmission. If there was a transmission, it would though. But it's just the engine itself. Okay, so then there's the distributor up here. So you can see right here. Spark plug wires run all the way to the spark plugs, which are under where those are. Like right there. And then they go into the cylinder cover, into the cylinder head, which is... Okay, so there's the cylinder covers, and then the cylinder head, and then the engine block down here. The engine block on this is actually made of metal, but the rest is plastic. But on a real engine, it's all metal. These are actually plastic. These are the camshaft covers, I think. Should be at least. But they're also the cylinder head covers and cam covers. Anyway, so your flywheel, the starter, right there. These tubes, which I actually don't know what they're for. They go to the exhaust. They're part of the intake, I think. But why would... I don't know. And then the fuel line, which also goes to the exhaust. So then there's the carburetors again. And then the engine block. cylinder head, which the pistons would be inside where the engine block goes. The crankshaft would be where the flywheel is, so like right about here. Or crankshaft would be like right up here, and then pistons would be here. There's 8 pistons. This is an 8-cylinder. And then intake manifold up here, where your injectors would go, or in the actual cylinder. There's no injectors on this for some reason, but yeah. And then your transmission would go here, bolting onto the engine block. So I don't know if like there's a second part for this for the transmission. Maybe it's a whole model car that I'm supposed to buy. I don't know. Okay, so the transmission would bolt here, where these holes are. So right here, here, in there, and then here, and then a few under here. But yeah. So that's how that works. Okay, so now I'm going to explain what all the parts do. Okay, the flywheel in real life is super heavy because it keeps all the stuff moving. Because if there was no flywheel, then, well, it would just stall constantly because there's nothing to keep it going in between the actions. Okay, and then the cylinder head cover, which covers the cams. And then the cylinder head, which holds the valves and covers the pistons so they can do the explosion, so it works. And then the starter, which starts the engine, as you can see when I turn the flywheel. It starts, and then it moves. And then in real life, it would go back in so it doesn't overload the starter, or else it would just break. The oil, the fuel pump, which is, the water pump, which is, well, it pumps water. The fan, which sends air through the radiator, which would be right here. So it sends air through the radiator, cooling the coolant, which cools the engine. And then the oil filter, well, filters oil, alternator creates electricity for the engine. The spark plug wires, well, they're wires for the spark plugs, making them spark. Engine coils are actually right here. Those are the things that create thousands of volts. Like I said in the other video, it's like 30,000 volts. And then the carburetors controls engine speed and mixes air and fuel, which might make air fuel mixture. Distributor, sparking all the spark plugs in order. I forget the name of this. Oh, coil. That's what it is. The coil, which gives the distributor the power. And then there's a drive thing down here, which spins the distributor because there's a rotor inside. The exhaust pipes, well, the exhaust pipes. And oil dipstick, so you can see how high or low the oil is. The belts, well, the belts. And then oil pan, which holds the oil when the engine is not running, and where you drain and fill. Well, the fill is up here. I think this is the fuel plug. In real, it'd be like here or something. And then intake, which is holding the carburetors because the air fuel mixture goes through and then into the engine. And then the injectors will inject fuel. about it for this. So I'm gonna make a part 2 for naming the other car parts too, so like the gas tank, and then brake calipers, and then stuff like that. That'll be in part 2 of this video. So smash the like button, make sure you're and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.